Just before Palm Sunday, in this story of Jesus, before they come into Jesus and his disciples and those that were following him come into Jerusalem, they were in this moment. He was in Jericho. And on that Palm Sunday, on this Palm Sunday that we will come and be in this next week, it's the first day of Holy Week leading up to Easter, and it's the triumphal entry of Jesus into that week, coming into that place where he is going to be crucified and to die for us, for you and I. But just before that, he was leaving out of Jericho. Do you remember the story of Jericho? Jericho was a city. It was walled up and it was fortified. It was, seemingly impenetrable. And it had these walls so high that seemingly stood in the way of what God wanted to do with his people. But things don't stand in the way of what God wants to do. He told Joshua, he said, "Go. I've given you this city." And he gave him a plan, walk around it. You're like, it's walls, they're brick, they're stone, they're fortified, they're huge, and you just want us to walk. But God's plan will work. He's always faithful. He always comes through, right? It just makes me think, I'm just thinking about that story even way before this moment where Jesus is leaving out of Jericho, that city, but way before that when Joshua was there and God was leading them in, there was a fortified city and these walls, and God wanted to do this thing with his people. He's leading them. It made me think about what walls that maybe are keeping what God wants to do in our lives from happening. And God says, just like with Joshua, it's like, I'm going to give this city, these walls are going to fall down. What I want for you will happen, but will you do what I'm asking you to do? Will you follow me? Will you listen to my instruction? And will you just walk around and shout and do what I'm saying, and you see those walls fall down? What walls? What walls do we have that God wants to tear down? That maybe we've been holding back? What thing have we been keeping from him? But I'm thinking about Jesus, and he's coming out of this place that's so long ago that God did this work in. And he's walking, and he's coming from this place where these walls were torn down, and that's what God wants from us and for us. Because he says we're going from that victory to this even greater victory of this moment of the cross. In Matthew 20, starting in verse 29, it says, "Now as they went out of Jericho, a great multitude followed him." A multitude, so many people, this massive crowd is following Christ as he's leaving out of Jericho. And behold, it says, 2 blind men sitting by the road. They're just sitting there. They can't see what's going on. They can hear the commotion. They can hear, probably people talking, yelling out for Jesus. And it says that they're sitting by the road. When they heard that Jesus was passing by, cried out, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." Then the multitude warned them that they should be quiet. Hey, Jesus is he's going somewhere. Listen, don't stop him. Don't bother him. He's got things to do. You can't bother with, your measly little self. You're just sitting over there all blind and don't know what's going on. See, I'm not trying to be mean to those guys. I'm trying to get us into this place where, do we tell ourselves that? Do we say, is he too busy? He's probably, he doesn't have time. Is he going to listen to me? They cried out, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." And the multitude warned them that they should be quiet. But they cried out all the more, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." So Jesus stood still and called them and said, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, that our eyes may be opened." So Jesus had compassion and touched their eyes, and immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. So these 2 guys were sitting there blind. It doesn't really, really this story about them or kind of what's going on, it doesn't really tell a whole lot about it. We don't have a lot of backstory right here. But it just says there was 2 blind men and they were sitting there. And Jesus is passing by. He's on his way somewhere. He's got something to do. He's going to Jerusalem. And this multitude is following him. As he passes by these 2 blind men, they hear that it's him. They know that this is the Son of God. And really here, whenever it says, Son of David, and giving him this honor and glory. This isn't just like, oh, Jesus, I think I've heard of that guy. They're saying, Jesus, Son of God, Son of David, our King. We can't see you, but we see you. We believe, we know who you are. And they cried out. They yelled, screamed. Imagine how hard you would have to scream as this multitude that is around Jesus. And it doesn't say how close he was to them as he passed. But I imagine it wasn't close, because so many people are around him and they cry. They cried out with desperation. You know what that word means? Desperate, to have desperation. Showing extreme urgency or intensity, especially because of great need or desire. There was an urgency and an intensity in these guys' cry, in them crying out to Jesus because of the great need that they had. So they knew that this was the moment that something can change in their life, that this was Christ, this was the Son of God. And he was passing by. They said, we can't take this and let this moment pass us by without crying out to him, without calling out to him, saying, have mercy on us. Have mercy. Last night, after I fell asleep, I don't know how long it was. Pastor Torrey can maybe tell us later, but at one point, I don't think it was too terribly long, and I guess I was having a dream, and I don't remember any of the dream except for the moment, like right before I woke up. I don't usually remember my dreams. And I was having this dream, and whatever was happening in that last moment, I was just standing there, and it's really weird. It's so vivid, just this moment. I mean, anybody else not remember their dreams? Like, I'm like, do I dream? I don't know. I think I just sleep, you know? And so I don't even know what's going on. And I just remember standing there, and all of a sudden, like, my nose starts bleeding, just, and not, it's like maybe just a little bit at first, but then it's just like, you guys okay with this? It's not super graphic, you know, it's maybe not, you know, rated G, but my nose starts bleeding. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then all of a sudden it was just like what seemingly like all the blood in my body was coming out of my nose. And it was like, whew. And then I felt this feeling that like the life was like leaving out of my body. And I get dizzy, and I'm starting to get faint, and then I'm blacking out, and then all of a sudden it was just like, poof. And I woke up, and I gasped for air. I was like, and I don't know if Tori was awake or if I woke her up, but she reaches out, she's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I think so, and I'm just gasping for air. Desperate. Like I literally felt, and I feel like that I, in my sleeping, stopped breathing. For I don't know how long. I don't think I usually do that. Maybe I need to go to the doctor for it. I don't know. But like I had stopped breathing and got to this point where in my dream and in reality, I was about to black out, pass out, like I had to breathe. That's desperation. Like that's what I woke up feeling. If I don't breathe right now, it's not going to be good. If I don't breathe right now, I'm not going to make it. And I literally woke up in this desperate for air. I think about these guys sitting there, these two blind men in this story. In that moment, that desperation, that crying out. Do we have that desperation crying out to him? The desperation to, even going along with this story, to see. I'm not saying just to see just this physical world around us, but to see what God sees. To see what he wants us to see. To see his plan. To see his will for our lives. To see what he wants to do around us. See what he wants to do in us. And that's what I'm thinking, like, God, I pray that we would just be that desperate, as desperate as we can be for air, that it feels like our last breath, that desperate for you and what you want, and to see you move in our lives, in the world around us, God, to see what you want to do. So many times we're desperate to see what we want to happen. Sometimes you have wake-up calls. Maybe it's a dream like last night. Maybe it's going through a moment that feels like you won't make it through. But will we live in desperation for him? They were so desperate. They cried out. They were told, just be quiet. Hey, he's busy. He's going somewhere. It says, but they cried out all the more. And there's maybe our own mind that tells us this, or people around us, or the world around us, or whatever, that feel this. Somebody saying, hey, he doesn't have time for you. Hey, you're not good enough, or listen, you can't see where you're going. It's just silly. But will that being pushed aside push us away? Will that being ridiculed or talked to in that way, will it push us away, or will it make us cry out all the more? I mean, because I know it's only going to get more. You guys, I'm not going there. Okay. It's not going to get easier. That's all I'll say. It's not going to get easier. But will that make us cry out even louder, with even more desperation, saying, I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what somebody around me or the world is saying. I don't care. I am so desperate that it doesn't matter what is said. I'm going to cry out. I'm going to call out to God. Say, God, I need you. I'm desperate for you. I need you to move in my life. I want to see what you see. I want to see what you want me to see. I'm desperate. In verse 32, Matthew 20:32, says, so Jesus stood still. And in that, as you read into it, it says, as one, of course, it just means like to be standing still or to stay in place. But as you read into it in this context and this meaning, it's said in a way of speaking of one that's moving, that stops to stay still. And I think about that. I think that this desperation and this cry to Jesus as he's walking by, as he's going out of Jericho, he's going to Jerusalem. Hey, we got Palm Sunday next week. It wasn't called that then, but, he's on his way. He's going, but this desperate cry, this desperation from these two blind men, while he's moving, while he's going on his path and what God wants him and he is his plan to do, that he is going, but this desperation stops him and creates this moment where he stops and stands still. Do you see that? I want to have that intensity and that desperation that I don't want to stop God from moving, but I want it to be in a way that he's like, yes, I hear you. I hear you. And I'm gonna stand here and listen. Let's talk. Let's do this together. He stood still and he called them. Meaning, he didn't, man. He didn't call them and like, hey, what do you want? When it says he stopped and he stood still, oh man. He didn't stop, turn around and walk to them, to stand in front of them. But he stopped and he stood still, and it said he called to them, meaning he called in this. As you look it up, just look it up. He called them to himself. He says, I hear you, come. Come to me. They're blind. And I don't have the rest of the story, but this is what it's saying. It doesn't give me all the details, but I love that it says he stopped, he heard them, and he stopped, and he called them to himself. Will you come to me? He said, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do for you? So he heard them. He stopped and he heard them. Called them. And I'm going to say that they are like either somebody take me to him or I'm just listening to the sound of his voice. I may not, oh, shoot. I may not be able to see him, but I'm going to listen to his voice. I'm so desperate that I'm going to get up and walk. I don't care if there's anything in my way. I don't care if I can see yet, but I'm just following the sound of your voice. What do you want me to do for you? He knew they were blind. It's not that he didn't know. I mean, he knew even before they cried out to him. And I'm sure he knew as he was there before him and when he's saying, what do you want? But he asked them. He asked us, what do you want? What is it out of this cry of desperation that you want? And it's not like, oh, yeah, you want a little bit more money? I want a fancy car. And maybe that's why he's asking. I don't know. It's like, okay, that's not a good ask. Okay. He says, what do you want? And he knows what their need is. He can do it without them asking, but he wants them to ask him, to say, to speak that need. To say, this is what I need. This is what I'm desperate for. To ask. What do you want me to do for you? And they said to him, Lord, that our eyes may be open. That our eyes may be open. There may have been so many more needs that they had. There may have been other things, I don't know. But they said, let our eyes be opened. We want to see. And Jesus had compassion, it says. Compassion on them. The word compassion is it has two root words, con and passion. Compassion. Meaning with, and passion meaning suffering. The passion of the Christ is the suffering of the Christ. And all over the Bible, it says that he was moved. God is moved. Christ is moved with compassion. Meaning he is moved because he's entered into our suffering. Because he's with us. He's entered into that place of suffering with us. That's what compassion is. And as we have compassion, I mean, I think it's good to know that. It's like, yeah, I'm a compassionate person, but it's being with somebody in a way that you're actually feeling it, right? But he was moved with compassion, and he just touched their eyes. And immediately their eyes received sight. They were healed. Desperately cried out. They were desperate for him. No one or nothing could stop them from crying out. They said, hey, don't bother him. And they're like, cried out even more. Have mercy on us. And he was moved with compassion as they asked that their eyes be open to see. What do we want him to do? It's a good question. Because there's so many things I'm sure that we could think about. And I'm not really like one of those like putting my goals and this is my life goals and this is my 5-year plan and doing all that kind of stuff. It's not really, but man, I think about this and I think that so many times we go to the bottom of the list of least important things. Whenever God is asking us, what would you want from me? What are you asking me for? What do you want me to do for you? And we start from the bottom up on these silly little things. Things that don't really matter. But what if we went to the top of the, what if we were just, what is what we feel like is the top of our list? I guess that's a good question. He says, what would you like for me to do? Because he wants to bring healing. See, this compassion. He wants to bring restoration and healing in our minds, in our bodies, our soul, to bring freedom from things that have bound us up or things that have maybe been attacking us, as fear, anxiety, worry. He says, what would you like for me to do? And just like in the story, I feel like, God, let it be that my eyes are open and see you, that we see you, and that our desire, our greatest desire, if you ever ask, is, God, let me see. It's like with Solomon. Hey, what would you like? Wisdom. You sure you didn't want, all these, fancy things or all this money or anything else? I want to be the greatest in the world. He says, I want wisdom, right? Would that be what we think about first? Would it be what we think about first to say, God, first and foremost, I want to see you. God, let my eyes be open to see you, to see your will for my life, to see your compassion that you have for your creation. God, let my eyes be open that I can see what you are doing in the world around me. See, just like that, ask for wisdom, or this ask for their eyes to be open, that actually opens up so many doors, right? I mean, King Solomon, he ended up being super wealthy. But that wasn't his top priority. God says, what do you want me to do for you? He healed them, just touched. In so many different areas, like in the Bible, you see these moments with Jesus, and everything, right, is for a meaning and for a purpose and for us to see something. Another place he healed somebody that was blind, and it took some stages. It took more than just him. He's like, hey, I'm going to touch your eyes. You're healed. You're fine. But in this moment, he just touched their eyes. It says they received sight and they followed him. He could have touched their eyes and healed them. And they could have gone off so excited, running off to hang out with their friends, or running off to do what they've always wanted to do because they haven't been able to see. Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to go, whatever, do this or do that, see my wife. Haven't been able to see her. I'm sorry. I joke sometimes. It's just... But they didn't run off. He healed them. Their eyes were open. They could see. And they didn't go off to do what they've always wanted to do. It says they followed him. I can see now. You've given me what I asked. I can see. My eyes are open. And so I'm going to follow you. I'm going to go where you go. I'm going to see what you see. I'm going to do what you do. I'm going to follow in your footsteps. I just love that there's this progression in this story. I just believe it's a beautiful picture of what we need to do, how we need to follow him. That desperation, crying out to him, not letting anything else, somebody or something or whatever is calling out to us saying, be quiet, or hey, let me distract you, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All it does is actually makes us more desperate to cry out for him and say, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on us. God, have mercy on me. I need you. Man, I believe that's what God is asking of us. And yes, look, see, even in this, like, there's healing that's needed. There's freedom and from bondages and so many things that are needed. But I think this is my point, that those things come from the desperation just to see him and follow him. That I truly believe that those things even will happen, not because we're focused on them or we're just consistently asking, God, I need this healing in my life. But what if we were so desperately just crying out to him, to see him, to know him more? And he may ask what it is we want. But I believe in that moment, as we come toward him, those things may just happen as we come to him. Sometimes we're seeking after the healing more than we're seeking after the healer. That's seeking after what we want, not seeking him. He says, will you seek me? Will you cry out for me, for this relationship, for what I've created you for? Will you be desperate for me? Will you stand with me?